Welcome to Living Your Path. I am Cecile Ferry, a coach and astrologer. I'm here to guide you on how to live and work in alignment with your true self so you can find fulfillment and serenity. Hello, my beautiful friends, and welcome to the podcast this week. I hope you're well. I can't believe we are just less than a month to Christmas. Woo, that came really fast. I don't know how you're feeling about it. I'm still feeling good. I'm still, working my way through. Actually, a good opportunity for me to send a shout out to any of my clients or potential new clients that you've got another 4 weeks that you can book into my calendar for coaching sessions or for discovery calls if you are contemplating making a change in your career and need guidance. You can go on my website and you can book a free discovery call with myself for 30 minutes. So if you're not happy in your job, if you've been listening to me, if you would like to get my opinion on your situation, whether that is the right fit for career coaching, that's what the discovery call is about. So I've got time for those before Christmas. The 20th of December is when my last spot in my calendar is. So make sure you go and check it out on my website. You've got the link in the show notes, and get yourself booked in, because then I'll take a little bit of time off in January and then we're back to coaching sort of in the second half of the month of January. All right, that was the admin done. So today I want to talk about living your path, and in particular, finding the path for you, because you would have seen in the title of this episode, there is a path for you. So what happens is we don't know this. Like, we all kind of get catapulted in a way into life. When we finish growing up, we get into adulthood. And we are pushed into finding security, mainly, as a young adult. And we get told the path is the path that gives you security. And that path is traditionally get a job, get money, build a future, and then get married, buy a home, have a family, right? That is kind of the typical path these days still. But it's changing. It's crumbling, that old path, but a lot of us still hanging on to it, and that's what's been passed on to us from the previous generation. But let me tell you, everything I've learned points to the fact that this is not our path. This is society's view of the path, and these are all external things. And where is the part in that talks to you? So that's what I want to talk about today. And I want to open up your mind to a model that you probably have not heard much about, because that is not what you likely heard growing up. And that is not what society, culture, the world out there currently reflects back to us. But I believe, and a lot of other thought leaders around me believe this to be true. And to start off with, I want to quote something from Elizabeth Gilbert from the book Big Magic. If you haven't read it, it's such a great book. I actually feel like getting back to it again. But let's hear what she says, because she says it beautifully. At the beginning of the book, she does say, I happen to believe we are all walking repositories of buried treasure. I believe this is one of the oldest and most generous tricks the universe plays on us human beings, both for its own amusement and for ours. The universe buries strange jewels deep within us all, and then stands back to see if we can find them. The hunt to uncover those jewels, that's creative living. The courage to go on that hunt in the first place, that's what separates a mundane existence from a more enchanted one. And that's what I want to talk about today. It's how to live your path from the inside out, finding all those jewels that she talks about, all the buried treasures in you, because this is the way forward. And that's how I wish they would teach it at school when we grow up. I wish the kids were taught how to do personality tests and read their birth chart and plan their future according to their unique talents and gifts and aspiration and personality style. And unfortunately, we're still stuck in the old value system when it's very much driven towards the economy. It's like we're raising kids to be workers. But how about to be who they're meant to be, their purpose, and be in alignment? So that's what I want to talk about today. And I'm going to take you through 4 steps to do it. And I'm going to share, why does this matter, and share some of my own personal experience. Are you ready? Let's get into it. So I'm going to talk about the 4 steps, the 4 kind of building blocks for you to uncover that path. Because to be honest, it doesn't just appear one day. And a lot of us, you included, you might recognize yourself, we go through life going on one path that has felt all right for quite some time, but we get to a point in the road, usually around late 30s, mid to late 30s, where we're reassessing and we realize that's not it anymore. And I think it's because we were walking someone else's path or society's path to some extent. And we're not fully across who we are and what we are here for. And that is why those 4 building blocks are going to give you. And so if you are on the journey, you are in good company, because so many of us go through that. I'll share about mine because I've come out the other end. And that's why I really so passionate about leading, inspiring other people like you to be living your path. So first things first, you need to make some space for clarity. I've got to say that, because you can't find your path if you are currently going 100 miles an hour, if you've got a jam-packed schedule with things back to back and never take any break. And obviously the impact this has on your physical and mental health, if your brain has a big mental load all the time, if you're doing too much, so there is overwhelm, there is stress, there is pressure on yourself, and also physically, you're probably exhausted because you've been doing so much for so long. And so especially if you're a mom juggling work and kids, I know you're nodding with me. So if you are in that space where it's go, 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 do, and you just can't stop and you're feeling exhausted, it's going to be near impossible to find your path. I have to be honest with you here, because you need some space and you need some peace. You need some space in your brain in order to see your path. So that's step number 1. That may be where you're at. And so you need to make room. You need to slow down. You need to calm things down so that you can do this work. The path is not going to appear as you multitasking and breathing shallowly every day and not having time for yourself. Unfortunately, I wish, you could just take a pill and the path would appear, or it would arrive in an email. But the reality is those things, they're deep and internal. And so you gotta have the right circumstances, the right environment to do that. And that may be hard to create from where you are right now. And I am not gonna deny it for some of you. And some of my clients come to me in that space, and that's okay. And that's where we start. I can help you take those first critical actions and steps to create some room in the current craziness, busyness, whatever you want to call it. But you need space for clarity. Okay? That's number 1. Then number 2, you need to remove what's not your path. Okay? And that is really important. So actually part of finding your path is removing anything that interferes with it. Because until you are allowing for those things to be there, again, you're not going to have the clarity and you're not going to reach the right destination. See, those things are gatekeepers, that they are in the way. And how do we know what they are? It's because it's anything that feels bad, especially ongoingly. Things that feel icky, things that feel heavy, that generate feelings of frustration, of resentment in particular, and of even anger. These are all really good, useful feelings because they point to those things are not your path. Like, you're not having those feelings because you're a bad person and try talking yourself out of those feelings. No. Those feelings are there to help you classify what's your path versus what's not. So all those things are people, activities, tasks that you do, and places. So that is step number 2, and it is to get real with yourself. And sit down when you're having that space and take a piece of paper and do a list of everything that comes to your mind that doesn't feel good in your life right now, that creates those icky feelings or this annoyance that comes back and again, the things that stress you out, that, make your shoulders feel a lot heavier. And for now, you don't have to deal with what you're going to do with the list, but putting things on the list is your job, and getting those things out and being honest with yourself. That's not an easy task, but I want you to do it and to be like ruthless about it and not just negotiate with yourself and shoot yourself that, or tell yourself, well, I don't have a choice. This needs to be there. Write them all down because you need to be really clear what are all the things that drain you. So go and do that and do that sort of audits and be very clear that, you cannot bring those things with you on the path. Like, you can't just keep those things and then add to it and your life will be magically better. You're going to have to clear them later. And really, I just want to emphasize that because you won't find your path if you're walking the wrong one with the wrong people. I know this can be super harsh and difficult to implement from where you are right now because the things that you might be writing might be a pretty big deal. Maybe your main relationship isn't aligned with your path. Maybe your best friend of 20 years is no longer aligned with you. Maybe the place you live in, the house or the city, the country you live in isn't you anymore. Maybe your job. Even though you love the people, you love the team, maybe the job isn't the place for you anymore. That is hard, but it's really important you give yourself that space, that reflection, because, your job in life is to honor yourself and to be in integrity with yourself. And so it's part of it. I know it's difficult. I know it's challenging, but sit through it, go through it, because the rewards after doing that kind of clarity exercise are really massive, and you have to go through this. So, it's a bit like they said there needs to be a death in order for a rebirth to happen. So that's the death part. It's like, what are all the dead branches? What's the dead wood? What are the things that you are carrying? Okay. And so make a list, probably long, of all the things currently in your life that spark dissonance, dissatisfaction, demotivation, dullness. I would even add disgust to keep with the D word list, right? All those bad feelings. All the things that also you are shooting yourself about. So by that I mean things you're pushing yourself to do. So do the list because it would be very freeing to do because you're admitting all those things to yourself. It's like a massive permission granted. But it's a huge part and a very important building block of living your path. Now, step number 3, now that you've removed what's in the way, you can turn towards yourself, and it's about reconnecting with yourself. And it's about knowing yourself. And you might be like, really? But I do know myself. But do you really? I find so many of us, especially women, with the kind of lives that we live, and we're a lot in our head, and we don't have time to really focus on ourselves and ask ourselves those questions. So, do you know what you really like? Do you know what you like to to wear and to eat and to see and to listen to travel to try, to buy, to learn about, and all those things, like get back to the roots of who you are. Probably you really knew when you were younger, but then life just happened, and then you got children and partners and communities around you and a million things to do, and you don't ask yourself those questions. So in order to find your path, you need to get reacquainted with yourself. You need to get back in touch with your tastes, your preferences, your style. The things that you're like, I like that. This is me. That's the first bit. And in this know yourself piece, then very important that you know your values. And this is something we do in coaching together. I can help you. And then know your strength, your talents, your gifts, your zone of genius. Like everyone's got that. You've just heard it from Elizabeth Gilbert. Your own treasures. What are they? And I'll tell you, my friend, the best way to learn that is to do a birth chart reading. If you haven't listened to the previous episode, number 101, I'll link it in the show note. Highly recommend you do, because I explain all about it and why. Okay, so this is like accessing that unique fingerprint of yours that I talk about in the episode. So you need to know that, and you need to understand it, and you need to remember it, and then you need to make decisions according to it every day. So this will give you a very good roadmap to know what is on path in your life and what needs to be modified and how in order to get back on your path. So by doing this work, you will also see where you're not currently in alignment, because that will give you a really good picture of who you are. Okay, and then step number 4 is one where you can step back a little, because, so far, you're really in charge for step 1, 2, and 3. You do all the work. Step 4, you do 50% of the work, because it's about reconnecting with your intuition. Because the rest of the knowledge to get on your path and to stay on it comes from your inner guidance, from your intuition, from a source within you that guides you. It's like that internal device that gives you little messages of guidance. And it's not easy to hear, as it's quite quiet. But if you make the space, like we said in step number 1, you will hear it pop up in your mind. It's like a thought bubble. Oh, maybe this. How about that? Like inspiration. You might hear it in your head. You might see something, have a visual come to you, an image. You might feel something. It might come like as a vibe or as a knowing. So something telling you what to do. You get a nudge, you get an idea. The main thing is, when those things come to you, don't question them. Because if you question them with your head and logic, you're going to clash. Because usually those things don't make much sense, or they may just look a little bit out there, but really important to follow up. Because if you don't listen to it and follow it up, you won't hear much else in the future, because it's like you just like tuning it out. But if you follow accordingly, and then you see as well that it works and it was the right guidance, then you will be more keen and you're going to hear more and more and more. And so there's like a loop that you need to establish there. And that is like connecting with your intuition and following it up and then hearing more. This is tricky, I won't lie, and because it cannot be controlled by the mind. So that's why it's trickier. It just comes of its own accord, and all you can do is to be in the right disposition for it. And if you are, trust me, it will come. You don't have to worry about that. So I'll do a separate episode on intuition, but that's what I wanted to cover today. The intuition will give you the rest of the answers. Once you know what's not your path, which you know thanks to how it feels right now, you've got enough data, and then you reconnect with yourself and you learn about your birth chart, that gives you a really good starting point, because you will get enlightened right there. You will have already a really couple important points to get you moving on your path if you're not already on it. And then you will need more, and that's when the intuition comes. And the intuition comes when you're open to it and you're already kind of walking on the path, right? So these are the 4 steps. Okay, I want to leave you with some further reflection on living your path and finding that path, because I really want to help you understand this. It's really time to listen to the guidance that's available to you. And I know this may be the first time you're even hearing someone saying that to you. But trust me, it's really worth taking the time to explore who you are as a unique human being and what your purpose is here on this planet, to find that path of yours. Because nothing externally to you holds the answer. Unlike what they all say, buy this book, take this course, follow this model. This is all untrue. That is not where you find the answer. You hold the answers first and foremost, and you always have. You just haven't been given the tools to explore and dig them out. You just never knew where to look. And that's what I'm passionate about, is to guide you to find those answers. Because until you do, you're kind of wasting your precious life trying to figure things out by yourself, or putting up with things in your life that don't feel good, right? And we've all been there. So I want to cut to the chase and get you there as quickly as possible, so that every decision that you make from there onwards compounds and compounds and moves you on the right path. It's like a formula. Once you have it, you just stick to it and keep applying it. And you will keep uncovering and then growing and learning, because you're never done. But it will feel like the whole time you are in your very own special lane. And that, my friend, feels really good. And it feels like freedom. It feels like happiness, like a simple pleasure. It's a bit like being a kid all over again. And it feels like mental peace, serenity. Because you no longer need to try hard, to work so hard, to push yourself, to torture yourself mentally, to dread what's to come, or like to plan a holiday to escape your life. You know, all those behaviors that a lot of us have as a way of coping for the things that are not working in our life go away. And it's just like really compounds, and you build up more the positive side of your life. So how good is that? And I can help you. And it starts with your birth chart reading. And right now, I have a special offer until the 31st of December. I highly recommend you go and check it out. The link is in the show notes and on my website at cecileferry.com. Really invite you to book it, even just lock in the rate and use it next year. So look into it. And then the step after that, you can book some one-on-one coaching sessions to help you identify what's not aligned, if you need help with that, and how to move it out of your life. And the sessions can help you to know how to build a transition from where you are now to the better aligned place you want to be in. And here I want to share a bit more about myself, because I have done this. That's why I not only believe in it, but I can help you. In my late 30s, I was not on my path. I felt I was on my path in my 20s. By mid-30s, things starting to really wear out. And so I was in corporate life, I was overworking, I was stressed out. I was in my head all the time. I wasn't really enjoying life at home, even though I had a house and a child, like I followed the path, quote unquote. And then something just always felt not quite right or missing. And it was like I was always trying to prove something to myself. I was always chasing the next thing, especially the next external thing, hoping that it will give me that peace, that serenity. But it didn't, I never actually got there. So that's when I transitioned. That's why I used a career coach, and then I invested in myself and I uncovered my strength. And I took a leap because back then I didn't know about my unique gifts and abilities. I didn't do my birth chart reading. Astrology wasn't part of my world then. But I took a bit of a leap of faith because I was really interested in coaching. Every time I was engaging with it, it really sparked something in me. So that was my intuition speaking. So I kind of used step 4 before step 3 myself, right? I did a bit of personality testing work and I did my strength. So I did some part of step 3. But I did that, and then now fast forward, so, I started my business, I became a coach, and I changed all my life. In my relationship was in a line in my life. And I saw this clearly once I aligned my work with the right path. Then next up was my main relationship, right? And so I've shared all of that in season 1 of the podcast, including there's an episode called My Life Transformation in 2020 that talks to the change in my relationship. So if you haven't listened, if you're interested, go back to all those episodes. But basically, fast forward to today in my mid-40s, I now live and breathe my values. And my values are balance, personal development, authenticity, inner harmony, independence, and love of beauty. I get to do this every single week. I use also my values and I use my gifts of intuition, of building relationship, understanding people's psychology and guiding them. I use all of that in my business, also with my friends and as a parent. But I'm using all those things because now I know what are my unique gifts and my values. And, for instance, I do inner harmony through yoga. I do balance through managing my time. I do my love of beauty by really perfecting my home environment and, doing also like graphic design in my business. So see, like everything is woven together. I have, as I said, really changed and beautified my home now. I have healed from unhealthy patterns in my relationship. So that was the death, right? The things that had to go. And I had to let go of some tendencies of mine that were keeping me off the track, right? I also built and now maintain really good balance, health, and vitality in my life. So if you're like, if you listen to those 2 kind of before and after, you're like, it sounds like 2 different people. But no, I'm still me, but I am a much more aligned version of me and a much happier version too. I'm now in a place that doesn't drain me, doesn't frustrate me, and doesn't make me need to complain and vent to my friends. Of course, I still have worries, I still have fears, and I'm not happy 100% of the time. Like I have times, sometimes a day where I'm just like, boo, like something hasn't gone to plan or my goal hasn't yet come to pass and that sort of thing. Like I have those days too. But overall, my everyday life feels right. Like I have got the right structures in place. And I'm now just working my way up each week, each month towards more achievement, more satisfaction, more peace, more joy. And that is why I say it's the formula, because once you find what is your path, then you kind of spiral upwards from there. And what I like is I feel that also that I chose this. Like it feels like I have decided on the direction of my life. And I have, taken responsibilities for the things that I needed to change. But then I have uncovered really who I am, and I chose to move on that path and to move towards that. And that feels really empowering. And also I know it's quite flexible. Like I can evolve my thinking and I can choose again, because you basically stop feeling like you don't have a choice or it's imposed on you by society or by what people would think and that sort of thing. Like none of that bothers me whatsoever. I feel like I'm just deciding now and I'm loving my life now. And if it was to change in the future, I know I can choose again. Okay. So I want you to feel this way as well as you go through your life, because like the episode say, there is a path for you. Maybe you're already quite on it and that's fantastic. if you're listening here, chances are that you are probably still seeking it. You may have some clues, but you may need the courage, you may need the support and the compassionate care, as you make those changes and you get on your path. And just simply the guidance in unearthing those answers within you. So if you found me, if you found this podcast, it's probably because this is a step in the direction of you finding your path. This is a resource for you because I can help you unlock something so you get on that path. So they say when the student is ready, the teacher or the master shows up. I really believe that, and I've seen that in my life. So let me personally guide you. Let me use my gift and my abilities for your benefit. So that's what I wanted to cover today. I hope that this is sparking some reflections with you and a bit of an aha of, wow, what if there is a path for me? And that might look different, but on which I'm going to feel really, really good. And what do I already know might be on that path? What were the cues that I got in the past? And do you want to learn more through your own birth chart reading? And do you want guidance through coaching with me? All right, so I just wanted to give you all those tools. I'll put the links in the show notes, and if they speak to you, please act on it because it's really the best work you can do right now. And imagine what next year will look like if you start this process now. So that's what I'm really excited about for yourself. As usual, if you've got any question, you can reach me on Instagram at Living Your Path. Make sure you follow me as well. I share other things on Instagram as well. So it's really nice to have those things in combination with a podcast. All right, my friend, enjoy the rest of the week, the weekend, and I'll be back with more next week. Take care, everyone. I'll speak with you soon.